Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Is class started? Yes, it has. Yatal, I'll point that out to the team. Don't worry. Good evening. Good evening. We wait 2-3 minutes and then we start. Satvanas are indigenous. Brahmins. Is Corona back? The trajectory it is taking sure. We will finish ancient. Yes, ancient main timeline will end. By reaching Gupta's, we finish main timeline. Tomorrow we will do. Tomorrow is Thursday, Friday. Yeah, tomorrow we'll finish early medieval. Therefore, this whole timeline will be over in that sense. But yeah, in a way, we finish ancient today. I know there's an issue with the yesterday annotated PPT. We'll get it sorted. Sakshi could be an issue. I'm telling you, there could be an issue. We'll get it sorted. Don't worry. Medieval is also 7 classes, but easier than ancient. Not too many players. Ancient, in a way, will be completed. Subjective test can't be there for ancient Lakshya. Objective test, I'll ask the SME to check. Helena, Sania. Sania with a Y. That is your task. I'm not making these. This is standard NCRT level language. Ashmi, I've got the email. I get it sorted. I'm getting 2-3 email, 50 to 60 emails every day. I have seen your email. I'll get it sorted. Karaku, what anyone if there? Please respond. About what? Do optimal has all history? I don't know what you mean by that. No, Sakshi, I can see your comment. One more minute and we start. Yes, Sania. What will be last topic of medieval decline of Mughal? What is the marks weightage of ancient? Prelims, 3 to 5 questions. Perfect, Anurag. Weekly test, Nancy, is based on what we do in class. So you are already prepared for that. Is there class today? Karaku, you are in class right now. Yes. You revise, revise. Okay. We have to cover the political history of Kushanas and Satavahanas. Then we also have to understand trade and society of post-Maurya. And we also have to discuss a very dangerous thing, what is called Satvana land grant tradition. And after we discuss Guptas. Again, an area which everybody knows about but don't know about also. So yesterday we covered the Indo-Greeks, the Shungas, the Shakas, the Chera Chola Pandya, and we also discussed the story of megalithic, the story of Saka and Vikram calendar, and we did previous year questions also. This is what we've done. Now today we have to understand the trade profile, along with that the political history of the Kushana Satavahanas and what we call as caste formation. Now this period, because of the fact that India was connected quite well vis-a-vis the Silk Route itself or through the maritime routes, be it Africa, be it Southeast Asia, be it China, the most important trade was happening via the sea, which is the Roman trade in the Arabian Sea. So when we talk about the post-Mauryan period, if somebody asks you in which period trade reached the highest point in ancient India, it is the post-Mauryan period. The post-Mauryan period, between the period of 184 BCE to 300 CE, this is the period of very good relations with the world and highest point, the zenith of trade. What was revived in the Mahajanpada period will peak in the period related to the post-modern period. Now that is testament, or that we know because of the fact that we have trade with China under Ptolemy, and Ptolemy in his geography talked about how silk fabrics, utensils were being imported from China, and we were sending a lot of textile to China itself. And over and above that, we have found Chinese coins as deep as into the Mysorean sector. Further, when we talk about trade with Africa, we have again Egyptian and what we call Ethiopian or Abyssinian commodities being found in India, and Indian commodities being found in that sector. Then Swarnadeepa or Swarnabhumi, as referred to in text, Southeast Asia was known for exporting. We were exporting sandalwood, textiles, spices to the Roman Empire through that sector also, and to them also. And who is Ptolemy? Ptolemy is a Greek writer. And the most important trade which led to a lot of prosperity, the prosperity of the Indian subcontinent, was because the Romans actually had a very good trade relationship with India. And we have Pliny's natural history, which talked about the fact that how muslin, which is a cloth, calicos from the Chola, the Satvahana, spices, the pearls from the Pandyas, everything was going towards the Roman area. The Romans were literally bleeding what we call as bullion, which is gold and silver, as close to 550 million setres, which is the Roman currency, Roman gold currency. And therefore Roman coins have been found as deep as in the northeastern sector, as deep as in the deep south, and in Gujarat, Rajasthan, and even in the northern sector. So we know that when we talk about trade, India was a very important subcontinent when it came to trade in this whole sector itself. We also know that because of a text which is called the what is called the Periplus of the Erythraean Sea. This is the name of the text itself. We don't know who wrote it, but it has been written by an Egyptian merchant, and he talks about multiple Indian ports which are referred to in Egyptian texts. So, for example, you have Bargaza, referred to Bharuch in Gujarat. You have Kalyan in Maharashtra, Sopara in Maharashtra, Tindis in Kerala, which is Calicut, Muzirish, one of the most important trade areas itself. Then Poduka, which is Arikamedu, Masula, which is Mauslipatnam, and Gang, which is Tamralipti, which is Bengal itself. What we see is that we have multiple references to ports, multiple ports. So the fact is that when somebody is writing it in the what we call as Egyptian sector, still they are referring to this, which in that regard is quite important generally. So as I said, trade wise, highest point, and we are already seeing that the Indian subcontinent has proper coinage, gold coinage was coming through, and we are basically rising as a subcontinent very quickly. Pondicherry is in Pondicherry, Tamil Nadu coast. Are we clear about this? We are now transitioning from that to the political history, because Kushana Satvana political history is left. This was what was left for last time. Okay. So yesterday we discussed the political history of Indo-Greek, Shunga, Shakas, and the other smaller nitty-gritties. Here we are discussing the political histories of the Kushanas and thereafter the Satavahanas. Roman had mines in their area, in not here but in Europe. Okay, now Kushana, as I told you, were the Yuchi tribe which had pushed the Shakas into India. But when the Yuchi tribe comes under pressure from the Chinese Empire again, what happens is that it in turn leads to them entering into India. And when they enter into the Indian subcontinent, what we see is that they are able to take the Indo-Greeks, they're able to take the Shungas, and the whole of North India gets consolidated under the Kushanas. The Kushanas are able to consolidate North India. The Sakas will remain tucked in between the Satavahanas and the Kushanas, and you have in the deep south the Sangam polities in that regard. This is what we did yesterday, wherein we were able to understand how things were operating. How things were operating. Wherein Kushanas, Sakas, Satvanas, Sangam, they are contemporaries to each other. Sangam will start to decline by this point of time, but Kushana, Sakas, Satvahanas persist till the rise of Guptas, and Sakas will more or less become insignificant in the battle between the Satvahanas and the Kushanas. Now, when you look at the Yuchi tribe or look at the rulers, we already know coming from the Oxus River, the Torachian tribe or the Yuchi tribe. Their first capital was Purushapura, which is Peshawar. Second capital was Mathura. So once they were here, they had one, then they had here the other one. Now, when we talk about their ruler names, you will realize something, that they will have tribal names and then they will start to get affected by either Buddhism or Vedic Brahmanism. And that is reflected in their names itself. For example, you see Kujla Khedifis, Vima Taktu, Vima Khedifis. But now after that, their names will start to change. Kanishka, Huvishka, Vasudev, Vashishka. This is because the more they will get influenced by the Indian subcontinent, the more their Yuchi tribe, Torachian influence will keep on going away. And therefore, there are two very important rulers here. Kanishka is the first very important ruler, and second is Huvishka. Kanishka is considered the most celebrated. Even when he was not the ruler, he was presiding over the fourth Buddhist council. He is known to be the one who actually brought in Indo-Greek culture and all these things together in that regard. And when we talk about about Kublai Khan, he was the one who established the rule in the Peshawar sector, and he started to enter into the Indian subcontinent further. So he took multiple titles. That does not matter to us. Vima Kadphis is the one who started to issue gold coins, but he starts a very important concept. Vima Kadphis, rather than just Indo-Greek coins, Indian gods start to appear on the coins. Shiva, Nandi, Trishul, Maheshwar. All these words have started to come in. Thereafter, Kanishka is the most celebrated. Kanishka is the most celebrated, as represented in his coins itself. Very beautiful gold coins. Can anybody tell me who this is? Which Indian god is this? Good. Buddha. It's called Sakya Buddha. Sakya Buddha is the one who's used mostly in the Tibetan sector. Tibetan Buddha looks like this, Sakya Buddha. So Kanishka is the greatest of all rulers. He started to mint gold and copper coins. We know the largest number of coins will be issued and circulated by him. He will bring in both Indo-Greek, Greek and Indian rulers, all come together, and he even kept the Chinese, a little bit of the tribal influence along with Indian influence together by taking titles such as Kaisar and Devaputra. And further, Kanishka embraced Mahayanic Buddhism after the fourth Buddhist council in Kashmir. Now, he got influenced by both the scholars, Vasumitra and Ashwagosha. Vasumitra was the one who presided over the third Buddhist council itself, fourth Buddhist council itself, wrote the book called Mahavibhasha Shastra, and Ashwagosha was the vice president. Both will influence Kanishka. Now, Kanishka is important to us now. He's important because he's written a lot of texts also. And now he becomes a problem for you because these are texts written by him and you have to learn them. So, for example, the Shauriputra Prakashana and the what is called Sudara Nandana are two dramas which was written by Kanishka himself. Again, have to be learned. Then he wrote also poems, for example, the Buddha Charita, the Vajrasuchi, and the Gandhi Sotra. Again, has to be remembered 3, 4, 5. We believe that the who was Kanishka? Ruler of Kushanas. Ruler of Kushanas. I don't know why you're asking me that. We are discussing Kushanas. So we believe that the master of Ayurveda, the Encyclopedia of Indian Medicine, the Charak Samhita, which is basically the book of Ayurveda, was actually written in his patronage under his court. Kanishka controlled the Silk Route, largest number of gold coins also, and developed a lot of irrigation works in this whole sector from Afghanistan to the Indian sector. So that way, he's quite a significant ruler because he represented different gods on different coins, from the Greek gods to Shiva to Buddha. There are multiple representations. And when it came to their administration, we only know only one thing, which is that they were governors, the Satrapas, and they were not that centralized in that sense. Decentralization, in a way, is there. In a way, is there. Now, as I told you before, we go to Satavahanas, Kushanas. What you have to remember is coins represent Greek plus Indian gods. First thing. Second thing, you would have to see what is called Kanishka is the most important ruler. And the most important point is his texts are important. Sir, it's buffering. Please refresh. You refresh. Why should I refresh? You need to refresh. I'm fine, right? Vikram, you refresh, not me. Kushanas controlled the Central Asian, what we call as and northern India. The texts which are mentioned here, these ones, these are texts written by him. Important that way. So, other than that, I'll tell you why Kushana is important generally. Are we clear about this? They are the ones who consolidate North India. Yes? Okay. Now come the Satavahanas. Now, when we talk about Satavahanas, Satavahanas have multiple distinctions. But Satavahanas are also the single-handed reason why no empire hereout or no empire henceforth will ever be centralized. Satavahanas are Brahmins. So Brahmanical revivalism will start under them. They were already present. They were present in the Deccan sector. As soon as Mauryan authority fully fades, they come to rise. It's not that they come from outside. And further, the most important concept here is Satavahanas. Now, this is again a gray area, major gray area. People argue that Satavahanas are matrilineal. It will be written in every text. It will be written everywhere. It will be written everywhere that they are matrilineal, but they aren't actually. This word is for the examination, but technically the Satavahanas are not matrilineal. Why? Because see, Satavahanas had a tradition of honoring their mothers by taking prefix or suffix, which is front or back, but it was still patrilineal only, wherein father side succession. When you see any Satvahana ruler, their name is going to be something like this: Gautami Puta Sri Satkarni, Vishishti Puta, Gautami Puta, Madhuri Puta, Vashishti Puta, Hariti Puta, and Gautami Puta. This means Gautami Putra, which means son. Sri Satkarni, Sri Pullami, Sri Yatna. These are the names of the rulers. The most celebrated of them is Gautami Putra Satkarni. The fact of the matter is that this is a way of honoring their mothers. They just take the title of Raja Gautami Putra. They add mother's name in the front. But other than that, they don't go forward in that way. They do not. It's not that father side lineage is not taken. Father side succession only happens. It's just that mother's name is just taken to honor them. But the problem is that the examiner won't understand that. The examiner won't understand that. And I showed you yesterday how there are multiple interpretations and multiple what you call as interpretations in which it basically is left to the examiner's interpretation. Now, if it says in the examination they are only matrilineal dynasty, accept it. Though technically it is wrong, but accept it. On the other hand, the Satavahanas are mentioned in multiple texts. One of the Puranas itself, which is called Matsya Puran. But they had multiple capitals throughout this sector itself, from Kotalingala to the Pratishta Purana to Srikulam, and this came in the examination this time. In 2023, every time I used to tell the capitals of Satavahanas, people used to think, how will that come in the examination? And it came, wherein they said Dhanya Kantaka refers to which area in India. And Dhanya Kantaka basically is this Andhra sector. So UPSC, for some reason, picked up this peculiarity, a standard concept of the Satavahanas, which is Amravati in Andhra Pradesh. They picked up the Satavahana capital. If anybody would have done the class or paid attention to the PPT, all students got it. But if you are again ignoring or not trusting the material, these things evade very quickly. This standard thing we do, sometimes these small things can matter and give you 2 marks for free in that sense. Now, I have established to you that the Satavahanas are known for the concept of patrilineality, for the concept of matrilineality, allegedly, but they aren't. They still, in a way, follow matrilineal. The fact of the matter remains is what is more significant is what they do as rulers. Here, he is considered the most important ruler, which is Gautami Putra Satkarni. Satkarni, Hala, Vishishtiputra, and Yajni Satkarni are also there. There are close to 225 rulers of this dynasty. In the 450 years, you will find different texts. 30 major rulers are there, but you will find 225 in different texts in that regard. But we don't really care about that. We only care about these 6, and that too only this one, which is Gautami Putra Satkarni, because he's known for a lot of interesting things. So I've established to you where they come from, which is they were already present. They are able to capture. They are the only matrilineal dynasty. That is allegedly what is said. But matrilineality does not work like this. But for the purpose of the examination, yes, sure, why not? Sure, why not? Which is the fact that it is matrilineal. The simple point of the matter is they honor their mothers. That is not matrilineality. But if it says matrilineal in the exam, because certain NCRTs say that, sure. There's no other dynasty in India ever which ever did this, which is to honor their mothers by taking their names as titles initially. That is a very unique thing about the Satavahanas generally. Now, let's discuss about them a little bit. What are the significant points for each one of them? He's the one who basically, Simukha is the one who founded the Satvana dynasty, active after Ashoka's death itself. Built Jain and Buddhist temples in this sector because the community here is very big that way. Thereafter, mother's title uttered by Satvahanas, yes. Thereafter, Satkarni I was the third major ruler of this dynasty. He is known to have killed the Jain king Karavela of Odisha and expanded into the Odisha sector, take Kalinga. Further, he also pushed back the Shungas in Patliputra. That is why the Shungas will start to decline there further. He will basically become the most important personality in the area, in the Deccan area, and he will take the title of lord of Dakshin Path. Basically, in the Naleghat inscription, his wife Nainika refers to him as Dakshin Patapati, which is the one who rules the Dakshin Path route itself. And he will start to then perform Ashwamedha, and revivalism of Vedic Brahmanism, which I will discuss with you, is very significant, will lead to a major change in that regard. Thereafter, Hala is known for having compiled a text called the Gatha Saptasati, very important. And it's a Prakrit word, it's a love poem book itself. And his minister, Gundaya, then composed the Brihad Katha. These are standard texts which will be referred to in the examination. They're always sprinkled around somewhere. Standard texts written by rulers, always important. Now comes the most celebrated king of the Satvanas, which is Gautami Putra Satkarni. Gautami Putra Satkarni is the greatest ruler of the Satvanas, will conquer the whole of Deccan area, even go till a little bit of deep south in that regard. And his mother, Gautami Balashri, used to always say in inscriptions that he is the Eka Brahmana or the Kshatriya Dapa Mandama, which is the one who destroys the pride of Kshatriyas. He will capture the Shaka areas, he will capture the Pahlavas, which is basically Shaka Pahlavas, same thing. And thereafter the Indo-Greeks. He will go as north as capturing certain sectors on the Indo-Greeks. And he was as much as a very big Brahmin, he also gave a lot of land to Buddhist monks. Can anybody tell me why would he still give land to Buddhist monks? If he's a Brahmin, why is he giving land to Buddhist monks? This is basically to appease the community, the merchant community, because the merchant community is Brahmin, is Buddhist, and therefore he is appeasing that. And more than that, he is tolerant. And this is something which we forgot today, which is that it does not really matter what is the religion of the ruler. What matters is that he always has a very open approach towards other religions. So he's giving it to Buddhist monks because Buddhism is the most popular amongst merchant community. He needs the merchant community generally. Thereafter, we have Vishishtaputta Pullami. He is the one who started to then inscribe a lot of coins, which we found in the Andhra sector, recover some of the territories which had been lost to the Shakas in between the battles. Yajansi Satkarni is the one who will take the Konkan sector, move a little bit southwards, and he will be a lover of trade and navigation. The highest amount of trade happened under Yajansi Satkarni because he allowed the whole sector to become very stable in that regard. Thereafter, the Satvanas, when it comes to political history, is complete. Now I want to do something very significant, and that is the Satvahana tendency, which will basically destroy everything. Whoever ruler is mentioned in the PPT is very important, very factual. Please go slow. I don't know how by going slow the factualness goes away, and if I go a little bit slower, I'm basically reading out of the PPT. I'm just telling you one thing very simple. You have to, and this is your role, you have to learn the name of the rulers which have been given in the PPT. Everything which is important about them I've already marked. You have to remember, and there's no running away from this. So it's totally your role. So if I read slower also, I'm basically wasting your time because you have to go through it. Please explain. What should I explain to you? What should I explain to you? You tell me what should I explain here. I'll explain that exact thing. You tell me. Hala importance, wrote a text. That's it. Karaku, what should I explain here? It's a factual area. What I have to explain, I'm coming to that. But tell me what to explain here. I'm already telling you that it's a factual area. Acha, history. About kiska history? What history? What history? Satavahanas. So what am I doing for the past 40 minutes? Please ask MCQs before starting the class. Monica, won't happen. It's not a school exam. Not in 10th class, 11th class, or it's not engineering class. I'm not asking you questions before. If some other teacher does it, I am not doing it. Stop this obsession with PMCQs. So your suggestion taken, but won't happen, because that's not how it works. You will get enough questions to practice. First, understand something. Again, I will not get distracted. Simple point is, yesterday we did the political history of a lot of people. I told you the important rulers. I told you everything important generally. Here also, I am telling you, they are known for the fact of honoring their mothers. They have a certain way in which they expanded. I have no intention of telling you that Gautami Putra Satkarni went to North India, then he fought this person, then he went to South India, then he fought this person. UPSC doesn't care. I don't care at that moment automatically. Political history is just filler. The simple point is, I am telling you certain rulers who are mentioned here, and therefore, I am telling you their major contributions. From Simukha to establishing, from Satkarni called Lord of Dakshinpat, to Hala writing two texts, to Gautami Putra Satkarni. Simple, straightforward point. The simple point is that Simukha, Satkarni, Hala, Gautami Putra Satkarni, and these rulers are considered important for certain things. I have established that to you. My role ends here. I am not going to tell you a story of them, how they expanded or how they are. That is not how ancient history works. That is why you have always found ancient or medieval very difficult, because you get caught up in things which really don't matter. So if everybody is on the same page with regards to certain rulers, and in the examination they can ask you who is considered Lord and who is called Lord of Dakshinpat, who is the one who defeated Karavela. That information is here already. So very simply, can I go into a discussion which really matters? Can we discuss that? Why Gautami Putra Satkarni is marked as very important, the greatest ruler like Kanishka. In a way, if you look at it, there are only 5 names. Pushyamitra Shunga, thereafter Menander, Rudradaman, Chastana, Bhumka, and Nahapana, Kanishka, and Gautami Putra Satkarni. 5 set of names I've given you. Nothing more, nothing less. So, literally, this is what you have to remember. These names which are there, simple, straightforward. Menander, you will see it for Indo-Greeks. Pushyamitra Shunga or Pushyamitra Shunga. Thereafter, Menander, Pushyamitra Shunga, then Nahapana, Bhumka, and you have Shastana and Rudradaman. Then you have Kanishka, and then you have Gautami Putra Satkarni. That's it. If tell stories simultaneously with facts, we remember for a long time. Kraku, don't tell me how to teach. Literally, I'm not asking you. So I draw certain lines. If I try to actually tell you the story, you will be the first one to run away. So you have the option to leave the session. I don't. So stop being the teacher, be the student. That is more than enough. Okay. Can you remember these 5 set of names? And if you really love the stories, let's do BA Honors History. I'm not here to teach you honors level history. I'm here to make you clear UPSC. That's it. Matrilineal are there? Vivek still stuck there. Yes, they are matrilineal for the purpose of the examination, though they technically not. Okay. Because, sir, many of having Gautami Putram. Many, yes, why not? Here, multiple sons were there for mothers. That is standard thing. Okay. So did Satavahanas have also distributed gold coins? I'm coming to that. That is what really matters. If I have gone through the barrage of irrelevant questions, can I move forward? Because that is what really matters here, which is Satvahana tendency and something very important. Okay. Now, the battle with Karavela leads to Karavela's death. Kalinga is one. Battle of Kalinga it is called. In history, there are multiple Battle of Kalingas. Nahapana was the part of the Saka, the Mansoor sector. Nahapana and Bhumka. And Nahapana was defeated by Gautamiputra Satkarni to capture Shaka areas. Okay. Now, Satavahanas are credited for something which is quite significant. It's quite significant. And they will introduce in the Indian subcontinent a tendency which will basically destroy the Indian subcontinent in the long run. See, the Satavahanas are Brahmins. And in order to revive their power vis-a-vis Buddhism, and over and above that, the revival of Brahmanical power via appeasement. Appeasement means to make happy. The Satavahanas started to give something called land grants. They're called tax-free land grants. Now, tax-free land grants start as a very harmless thing, which is it's a dan dakshina or grant to Brahmins to appease them and revive their power. But this generates precedents and new tendencies. Now you see, why is it so dangerous? If there's a piece of land and I am A, rather let's take a bigger zone. If this is, for example, this is an area in which there are 100 villages, wherein there are 100 villages here, and this comes into Satvahana area. This is Satvahana area. Now, in order to appease a Brahmin, they can give certain portions of, for example, 20 villages to Brahmin A. Now, understand one thing. The 80 villages which are left, tax is collected by whom? Tax is collected by whom? Who collects the tax? Who collects the tax? The king. The king. Now, king collects tax. King collects tax. And they are answerable to the king also. Answerable to the king also. However, if 20 villages is given to a Brahmin for as a form of dakshina, as a form of dana, as a form of grant, now Brahmin A gets a tax free land grant of 20 villages. Tax free land grant means tax will be collected by the Brahmin. Answerability is also to the Brahmin. He basically becomes the overlord, or this area basically now comes under the Brahmin itself. Under the Brahmin itself. Now, the Satavahanas are doing two things simultaneously. Satavahanas, by giving land grants which are tax-free land grants, what they're doing is that they're doing two things at the same point of time. One, they are destroying their own revenue base and treasury, which is that by foregoing the tax on that land, there's an impact on the total revenue falls. On the other hand, they are also creating local power centers. They're also creating local power centers, meaning that these Brahmins are totally autonomous and have full control over the areas given. The fact is, if it was a land grant, it would still have been okay. The problem is it is a tax-free land grant. This is the problem, because this leads to revenue loss, and the same point of time it also creates local intermediaries which are powerful. And this is basically a poison. After agriculture, if something really destroyed the Indian subcontinent, it was tax-free land grants. These type of land grants were given. These are called copper plate land grants. Has the royal seal is here, and it was written on copper that we are giving you this much land. And the simple point is, this land given is what will lead to issues, because in the whole Satavahana territory, now there will be pockets which will rise, which are basically autonomous. And this is the story of how India will become more and more decentralized over a period of time. I'll tell you why. First tell me, do you understand what do I mean by tax-free land grant? Why do the Brahmins need to be appeased? Because the ruler is a Brahmin and you help your own community. Do you understand how this is in principle problematic generally? That Satavahanas are giving tax-free land grants. Tax-free land grants means it is destroying the revenue base and at the same point in time creating local power centers. Do we understand this? These land grants are hereditary. They are hereditary, yes. Hereditary and are for forever. There's no end date. You get it for your whole family forever. Why are they giving this? Because they are Brahmins. Brahmins had been suffering for the past, throughout the Maurya and the post Maurya period. See, this is how kingship works. You are a king, you want to show your generosity. So you're going to be recognized by the Brahmins quite a lot, because he is the Brahmin, he is the king who gave Brahmins so much dan dakshina. And that is again coming through that concept of ritual purity or ritual punya. Ritualistic merit is the concept that if you give 20 villages to a Brahmin, he gives you ritual merit. So again, don't act like a American that you don't understand appeasement. We do it ourselves. We do it ourselves. There's a very good friend. We need something out of that person. We give him his car. We give him the car. We give him his bike. That okay, you use it till I don't use it. You take it. That is called appeasement. Appeasement happens. You give dan dakshina to Brahmins because that gives you ritual merit. And Satvahanas are trying to revive the culture of Brahmanical Vedic Brahmanism and religion itself. Are we clear what is the initial purpose? The initial purpose is only appeasement of Brahmins. Appeasement of Brahmins is the initial purpose, but it creates a precedence for something which will happen later. Are we clear about this concept? I want everybody's yes. Yes? Okay. Now, initially, Satvahanas started to give it. They started this land grant tradition. Later, the Kushanas also copied the Satvahanas in order to keep everyone happy and appease. The simple point is that this is okay till the state, treasury, and economy is healthy. Till then, land grants do not impact or create issues in empire. And that is the basic point. Nobody is looking at the long term. In a way, I'm also telling you why would it be that Gajni will be coming to India 17 times, Gori will be coming to India, and why would the Indian subcontinent be a very easy target for the Turkish invasion? The genesis of that issue is here itself. Because initially, when the treasury economy is very, very healthy, you don't see the impact. But over a period of time, what happens is that land grants create political intermediaries who have absolute power, over territories, because tax, rules, law, everything is dictated by that person. The donor, no, not the donee, one who receives, basically will dictate everything. Now, what is even more important is the fact that land grants initially are given to only Brahmins or religious personalities. But what happens is that in the period between 200 CE to 300 CE, Roman trade starts to contract. When Roman trade starts to contract, the revenue flow starts to reduce. Now, which is the biggest burden which a state has? What is the biggest burden which a state has? Biggest burden. To run an empire, what is the biggest burden? It is the salaries of the bureaucracy and the military. If you don't pay your bureaucracy and if you don't pay your army, they will rebel. Now, when it came to salaries of military and administrative officers, with revenue flow decreasing, guess what these rulers will do? With revenue flow reducing, the Satavahanas and Kushanas will start to give tax-free land grants as salaries or in lieu of service. And this is where everything is going to go down, because now these officers will emerge as local power centers and intermediaries. And this is called political fragmentation, what we call also decentralization. Is decentralization not good for stable rule? No. Monarchical rules which are decentralized makes no sense. Now, basically, this is where Satavahanas basically mixed up poison into the Indian subcontinent. They gave a solution to something nobody was asking a solution for. It starts by only giving it to Brahmins, which in itself is dangerous, but it keeps on expanding into bigger and bigger zones, and now leads to political decentralization or political fragmentation. Think of it like this, that today, when you become an IS officer, you will get a salary from the government of India. When the government of India gives you the salary, you are under the control of government of India, and government of India has absolute control over you. They can control the salary and you will be nowhere. Now imagine that there's a financial emergency which has been proclaimed, and the government of India says that you can extract the revenue out of your district, for example Agra, and that Agra revenue is equal to your salary. Now basically you literally become like the ruler of Agra or your district, and this is where a local power center is created. And this is in Indian history called rise of feudalistic tendencies. Feudalism never existed in India properly. That's an ongoing debate, very long debate. But feudalistic tendencies means decentralization of power. And these people who have got these land grants, they are called the donies. The people who get it are called feudatories. Feudatories are local power centers. These local power centers, what happens is, till central control is good, they remain in place. But as soon as this weakens, there will be fragmentation. And that is why India will keep on becoming more and more fragmented as we go on from the ancient to early medieval. The fact that we call it ancient and early medieval is because early medieval means that there is decentralized, fragmentary, feudatory politics. Now, what I've tried to establish to you is very simply three things since the beginning. First, the concept of the political history, which is insignificant to me right now, which is Kushanas and Satavahanas, and the trade reaching a high point. But what I've told you is that Satavahanas, though project a lot of power, they are not very good at managing their resources. And though it was a harmless task to give land grants to these Brahmins, it gives the rulers a headway that when there will be fiscal issues or economic issues, they will start to give land grants to officers. When they start to give it to officers, these officers become local power centers and they emerge as feudatories or local decentralized power intermediaries. We can't call it feudalism because feudalism is a very European thing. It's a very, very European thing. The concept of king, vassal, lord, knight, this does not happen in India. It's not feudalism. Feudalism, you don't know Hemant, that is why you're getting confused. Why is it called feudalism if land is given to peasant? It's not, that is not how feudalism is defined. Feudalistic tendencies is the way of, I'm not saying India had now feudalism. I'm saying feudalistic tendencies. It's a generic word which I'm using. Feudalism is the best example of decentralized model of control. So when I say feudatory, when I say feudalistic tendencies, I'm trying to talk about decentralization of power. Are we clear about this? I am not going to tell you what is feudalism because you don't need to know it. If when in world history, I will discuss it with you. Do you understand how this copper plate inscription is going to become the reason why nobody in India was ever united? The reason why the Turks were able to win over the Indian subcontinent, the reason why British were able to win over the Indian subcontinent, the fact of the matter remains is everybody was always disunited. The reason for that disunity is called feudatory mentality, which is not my problem mentality. If I am a feudatory, I don't care what is happening to the next feudatory until it becomes my problem itself. I'm telling you the genesis of something very important, which is land grants as a form of political degeneration, political fragmentation, because there's a major misnomer, major myth which you have, which you will tell me also. Gupta age is the golden age is a very big myth which was pushed through the nationalist historiography. That Gupta age, the best, the most beautiful, the most strongest empire ever. But Guptas, when it comes to political history, are the best example of decentralized control. They are a golden age of literature. They're a golden age of culture. They're a golden age of temple building, sure. But politically, the Guptas are not, after Samudragupta, an example of centralization. There has been no way any empire was ever centralized. This is going to be a running story we will see throughout now this point till the decline of the Mughals itself. Simple point is that land grant traditions are a poison like agriculture which can destroy centralized empires. That is why after Mauryas, no centralized empire ever rose. Are we clear about this? Because when we talk about Gupta Satvana administration, the different provinces were divided into the Ahars, and we know of the Amatyas, the Mahasenapati scribes, again standard officers are there. But the Satvahanas started to practice granting tax-free land grant to Brahmins and Buddhist monks. And therefore, what will emerge out of this are two words which will become very important, which are called Maharathi and Mahabhoja. Maharathi, Mahabhoja are actually terms given to feudatories. And now, dataries. Now, beat the Guptas, beat the Vakatakas, beat anybody. All rule will be about feudatories capturing power. You know how Guptas actually came into existence. Guptas were the feudatories of Kushanas. They captured power. Vakatakas were the feudatories of the Satavahanas. They will capture power. Thereafter, Harshvardhan was the feudatory of the Guptas. This is going to be standard story. The Rajputs were all feudatories of the Pratiharas. So it was just now become a chain of feudatory capturing power as soon as central authority becomes weak. And this is where the basic story of the Indian subcontinent goes south very quickly. It has now become very clear that now the Indian subcontinent will never remain centralized. It will just keep on fragmenting more and more. The more the economy goes down with the Roman Empire falling, the more they will keep on just basically dividing further. It literally becomes like a geometric progression. That it is 1 to 8, 8 to 20, 20 to 50, 50 to 1000. It is increasing exponentially. And therefore, the Satavahanas did something which destroyed the Indian subcontinent over the long run. The word feudatory is used interchangeably for the concept of local power intermediary. You want to call them local power intermediaries, you call them local power intermediaries. Anybody who has tax-free land grant, who has absolute control over over his or her area, mostly his area, is called a feudatory. Are we all clear about this? Because I want to end this section. Samant. Yes, Samant is a word which will emerge later. That is why Samantavad is the Hindi for feudalism. Are we clear about this? Because I want to end this section, give you a 5-minute breather, then a burst of caste formation. Okay. Now, economy-wise, coins of the Satavahanas have been excavated in multiple places. Double diatrachs, but silver, copper, lead, and potin. Potin is silver plus copper. Which is the metal which is missing here? What is the meaning of feudatory? A local power intermediary. Gold. This, what does it indicate? What does absence of gold indicate? It indicates that there's an issue with revenue and economy. And now you can see how this point will get linked up with the land grant point. That the declining economy as represented in the coins itself, and when I show you the Satvahana coins in numismatics, you will realize that the coins were the worst ever. And therefore, be it round, square, or rectangle, Satvahana coins were always very low quality. And therefore, the pattern with regards to having multiple coinage symbols, this is something we'll do in numismatics. This is called the Chaitya symbol, Chakra symbol. Again, Buddhist symbols still remain with Hinduistic symbols coming through. The simple point is that we have established that before the Gupta period itself, there are 3 things which are happening. This is the political part. We have reached till 300 CE. We started at 184 BCE. And during this period, we have the Indo-Greeks, the Sakas and Kushanas as what we call as Central Asian tribes which came to the Indian subcontinent. And the fact of the matter was that Indo-Greek, Saka, Kushana, Central Asian tribes, they contributed quite a lot from double diastruck to highest point of trade to popularity of Buddhism, to new calendars. By the time Guptas come, one thing is clear. Roman trade is declining. Land grant tendencies have become common, and the Gupta dynasty will accelerate land grants and establish a truly decentralized empire after Samudragupta, which I will discuss with you. Now, what I want to do here is I want to give you a small breather, 5 minutes, and then I want to discuss with you caste formation. That is again something quite interesting. Can I do that? Copper plates were licensed to land grants. Mostly land grants were on copper plates because it survives over a long period of time. Gold coins are completely absent. Yes, mostly absent. Right? All these points are clear. Post Gupta is over. Post Maurya is over. Module number five is over. We now have to just discuss a simple point, which is caste formation. We'll discuss that, and our society discussion will be over, and then we'll start the Guptas. Right? Okay. We come back at 6:20, and then till 45:50 we'll go. Numismatics is art and culture. We'll do it there. Welcome back. Okay. Now, the discussion I'm going to have with you right now is purely academic. Purely academic. No, the examiner will generally not ask you about caste formation. This is not a mains area, so you don't need to expect something generally out of it. But you do need to understand how does the Varna identity become so messy. So first things first. First things first. This discussion is purely conceptual and has no relevance to the examination, but is important to understand the Indian society today. From telling you what is the four-fold Varna structure, now I'm going to tell you how that went further and became more complicated. Now, when I say the word caste, this word is a very late word, very, very late word, because this word comes from the Portuguese word castas. It's a Portuguese word. And jati and caste, in the period where we are discussing it, post Maurya, are basically words which are interchangeable. Jati and caste more or less are interchangeable words. The second thing which is important is to understand that what you think of caste today is quite different than what I am discussing with you, because caste today is a product of the British intervening into the Indian society. And this is only the first instance of what we call as Varna identity becoming more diverse. This is called, see, we call it proliferation of Varna identity, and is also called Varna samskara. This is the exact word which is used, which today you called as, or you call as, caste formation, or we call it as jati caste formation. First things first, what I'm trying to establish to you is, don't bring in your modern day notions of caste. This is the first time caste appears, and that is the discussion we are having. Now the question is how? How? Now I could have easily told you that caste formation happens in the postmodern period and this topic would have been over. Very simply, topic over. Nothing more, nothing less, done. But I will tell you how. And therein you'll understand how the Indian subcontinent starts to change. Varna samskara means Varna proliferation. Now, see, 4 Varna categories are there. Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. And during the, from Vedic age, or to be very precise, later Vedic age to Mauryan, these identities are very, very watertight. Watertight means that they are bound properly. These are rigid. These are homogeneous. Homogeneous. No Karaku. Division of work opportunities led to further division of Varna system. Listen to me. Bata. These are rigid homogeneous categories, and they are what is called as endogamous. Endogamous means that they marry within themselves. So, Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. The simple point is these are very pure categories. These are called watertight, homogeneous categories. Homogeneous categories. Now, post-Mauryan period changed this. And this is where we have to understand how. Do we understand the first point? Homogeneous, endogamous? Homogeneous, endogamous. We understand that? Perfect. Now you see, you have Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. Now these have been very pure categories held together. Now Indo-Greeks come, Kushanas come, Shakas. These are Central Asian tribes or Greeks themselves. Homogeneous not understood, meaning a Brahmin is a Brahmin. Brahmin marries with the Brahmin. There's no Brahmin Kshatriya or Kshatriya Vaishya or Shudra Vaishya. No type of intermarriage. So they are very homogeneous. Homogeneous means that their identity is one, Brahmin, and everybody is a Brahmin. There's no impurity or any form of foreign element here. Now, Indo-Greeks, Kushanas and Shakas come. But do the Indo-Greeks, Kushanas and Shakas follow the Varna system? Do they follow the Varna system? No. Now they need to be assimilated. I will use the word. They need to be integrated and assimilated into the Indian subcontinent. Now, this word integration and assimilation mean that they need to be put into these four categories. They need to be put into these four categories. So now we start to add. Wherein the Indo-Greeks merchants need to be put into Vaishya, scholars into Brahmin, They're fighters into Kshatriya. Kshatriya what category is the biggest which becomes, because most of them are fighters. But now there is one original who has existed between Vedic to Mauryan, and there's now one more, which is the new element. Now, what is caste? Caste is sub-categorization within Varna. Now, what the original Brahmin says is, yes, he is a Brahmin, I am also a Brahmin, but I am A type Brahmin, he is B type Brahmin. That is the concept, right? That I come from this area, I am this type of Brahmin. I am that type of Brahmin. These Brahmin subcategorization, the Kshatriya, what is caste? All are Kshatriyas. All Rajputs are Rajputs, but they have different castes. Caste means that there is further subcategorization. If you've seen that scene from Jolly LLB, where the climax scene where Akshay Kumar is talking to that terrorist, and he starts to say that you are a Brahmin, yes, I am a Brahmin, and then he starts to go further, which Brahmin, what Brahmin, and in the end he says iske aage bhi kuch hota hai, that is after this also there is something. In that, basically the sub-categorization is that, okay, he is tagged A, B, C. Now there's one more, C, D. We have now created 4 types of Brahmins. This is what is caste. This is what is caste, wherein the more you integrate these foreigners, the more they create within this homogeneous hold a new idea itself. Sub-varnas, which is nothing but, it's not called subcaste, it's called sub-varnas, which is nothing but caste. So think of it like this, it's like a molecule. You will have one main molecule which had always been there from Vedic to Maurya, but thereafter now newer molecules and newer elements are getting attached to it. So the first process is integration. The first process is integration, wherein you are adding. And the original one wants to say, no, I am the original one. I am, for example, Kanekunj Brahman, and he is a Sarjupari Brahmin. So the fact is they are geographically distributing them. There is further, I am this Gotra of Brahmin, he is that Gotra of Brahmin. That is again something which develops further under caste, wherein you are dividing caste into further. That same way, I am a this Kshatriya, this is a that Kshatriya. A type of a Kshatriya, the B type of Kshatriya. This is not similar to British caste formation, because British did something totally different. That's a separate issue altogether. Do we understand how all of these elements, all these homogeneous categories get in a way disrupted? In a way disrupted, meaning that the original Brahmins will start to sub-categorize, saying, no, I am the original one, he is the new one. But what is even more, what we call as, in a way, became more accelerated and more effective, was now today I go and say to Donald Trump that you are a Kshatriya. Does it actually have any consequence to him? No. Now what happens is, now the Indo-Greeks are here also, Indo-Greeks are here also, Indo-Greeks are here also, Indo-Greeks are here also. Now they don't care about rigidity, purity. And now there is intermixing. Because these new elements, yes, I am a Brahmin, but it means nothing to him. So the second process which happens is intermixing. Now the intermixing will become even more problematic. If a Brahmin and a Kshatriya goes, what do you call that person? If a Kshatriya and Brahmin, then what? Vaishya plus Brahmin, then what? Kshatriya plus Vaishya, then what? Basically, this is where there's a burst of subcategories emerging. So think of it like this, that first you had the original molecule, then the molecule got attached with other types of molecules itself, and thereafter they start to interact with each other. And this basically is like nuclear fission, creates a new chain reaction, wherein now you have one original, then one foreign element, and then foreign element with another element attached to it, then furthermore. So the two processes which actually led to what is called as Varna Samskara are called assimilation and intermixing, all happening during the post-modern period. I want to give another example if you understand this. If you've not understood this, is this making sense to you? How does assimilation and intermixing was not allowed previously because the categories were very pure. They knew their position itself. Now with newer foreign elements, these categories have only basic symbolic value, and they will start to intermix. Now what I want to do is I want to give you an example, more practical, and it will make sense to you. Can I do that? Why is this happening in this period only, Sadhana? Because it is only on the post-modern period that we have Yuchi tribe, Scythians, Indo-Greeks entering into the Indian subcontinent. Till before this point, Mauryas were always within them. Within them is closed. Assimilation, there's no mixing between two castes. No, assimilation is that I'll give you the example you understand. But the original categories of pure blood, there's no purity blood. All this is make believe. The simple point is categories become very problematic. You see, I'll give a very simple example and you will understand it. Pay attention now if it has not made sense to you till this point. Pay attention now. Please pay attention. Did earlier Varna system have no color differences? Is there something which is not there? You are picking up from something which you are mixing up 2-3 things. That I will not go down that line, but you're mixing up 2-3 things. See, think of it like this. Think of it like this. Simple point. There is water in a tank. There's water in this tank. Now, Karaku, you understood very good. Patience. There's water in this tank. This is Brahmin water. This is Kshatriya water. This is Vaishya water. Shudra water. Now, is there any form of, there's no form of leakage between these walls. So can I call them pure categories? Pure categories, they only interact with one another. They only interact with one another. And that is how they live. The molecules are homogeneous. Now the first thing which happens is 1 second. First thing which happens is I get a picture of Indo-Greeks, picture of Kushanas, and I get one more picture of the Shakas. Now what I do is I start to now pour, because this is what is the need of the hour, which is assimilation. Now what happens is that little bit of Indo-Greek comes here, little bit of Indo-Greek comes here, a little bit of Indo-Greek comes here, little bit of Indo-Greek comes here, little bit of Shaka comes here. And thereafter, little bit of Kushana also comes here. Now, what happens is that these molecules start to interact with each other. And the more they interact, the more new type of molecules are created. Now, this is one new cast. Till this point, it is still within. It is still within. Now, by mistake, I also shift the or give certain type of shift to this picture. And now what happens is they spill over into one another. And when they spill over into one another, now there are thousands of new identities which emerge. And that is nothing but called Varna Samskara or caste formation. Does this make sense? If it does, we take a break and we then come back and start Guptas. Done? Okay. So we come back by 7 and we take the story forward. Welcome back. Arjav, I pointed that out, don't worry. Okay, we start module number 6. The last pure ancient module, which is basically two chapters out of R.S. Sharma, one out of the 6th class NCERT. And the Gupta dynasty is quite famous for a lot of things. And we will discuss that. Sangam people don't get intermixes. What do you mean by that? Sangam, no, that they are part of the Vedic society. Okay. Can you start again? Okay. They do, Sachin. Okay. Now, the Gupta period is known for a lot of things. The cultural aspect we have to cover in art and culture. That is of no concern to us here. The golden age of art and culture, wherein you have temples, you have sculpture, you have literature. That's a separate issue altogether. We'll discuss Kalidas here though. But when we talk about Guptas politically, the story is totally contradictory and quite problematic. Because the Gupta dynasty had a very dangerous tendency, which is accelerated land grants. And over and above that, there's also the concept of decentralized control. The Guptas also, the third process of caste formation is there. We discussed two, assimilation and intermixing. Another process happens in this period. That is the third process. And then there's the standard political history of the rulers. Now, as with regards to Mauryas, we know about the Guptas out of multiple texts. But here, as much as texts are known, inscriptions are also quite important. Inscriptions. And the concept is that you have, for example, the Kamandaka Niti Sara, which talks about Gupta administration. You have Vajika, who wrote the Kamudi Mahotsava, which is the story of how Chandragupta I came to power. And one very simple point, Chandragupta Maurya and Chandragupta I are two different people. He is only called Chandragupta or Gupta, Chandragupta. He is called Chandragupta Maurya. So there can be two people with the same name. He is the establisher. He was also the establisher. Now, you also have Sudakara Michikatika, which talks about a very interesting story of a Brahmin falling in love with Vasanta Sena. Yes, you have to learn this. This came in the examination this time. Devi Chandraguptam, the story of Dhruva Devi marrying Chandragupta to Vikramaditya. This came in the examination and it was incorrectly matched, wherein Devi Chandraguptam was not matched with Vishaka Datta. What is the other text we discussed of Vishaka Datta? Is the other text of Vishaka Datta we discussed in the Mauryan period? Yes, the Mudrakshara, which is mud visa. If you remember, Mudrakshara and Devi Chandraguptam are two very important texts of Vishaka Datta as quoted in 2023. Now, Kamandaka, Vajika, Sudarka, you have to remember out of this. You have to remember out of this. One which I marked here, thereafter second this one, Richikatika. And we also have multiple prashastis. Prashasti means an inscription which is celebrating a ruler. Now these inscriptions are quite important because they give us a picture of two things. One, land grants, and the other, that now even the daughters and wives of the rulers were also giving inscriptions and certain what we call as information. So for example, we have the Allahabad Prashasti, which is Ashokan pillar which has been found. This is the most important, now called the Prayag Prashasti in that sense. And this is written by Hari Sena. Hari Sena is the official poet of Samudragupta. And this tells us the conquest of Samudragupta in quite a lot of detail, how he conquered different parts of India. We'll discuss that. Then we have again Iran Prashasti. Iran is a place in MP which again talks about the conquests. Thereafter, the Nalanda and the Gaya copper plate inscriptions are quite interesting because the Nalanda inscription talks about how Samudragupta gave a Brahmin a village, a land charter, land grant in that sense. And Gaya shows us a very interesting thing wherein a Sri Lankan ruler called Mahameghavarman wanted to establish a vihara. Vihara means a monastic hostel for the monks of Buddhism. So he asked the permission of Samudragupta, and Samudragupta said yes. And he actually gave land in Gaya through a land grant. That what will you also remember? You take this land and you build your vihar on this. Thereafter, we have one more set which is the Mehroli iron pillar. This is of Chandragupta II Vikramaditya. He is not the same Vikramaditya, but he takes the title Chandragupta II Vikramaditya. And this is a very interesting 23 feet tall iron pillar because it never rusts. So metallurgy had gone so forward that they were able to make a pillar which never rusted. Thereafter, Junagadh again comes back, wherein from Rudradaman to the story of Chandragupta Maurya and Ashoka. We know that Skandagupta repaired this later. Pune and Mandsaur are quite important in that sense because Pune talks about the daughter of Chandragupta II, Prabhavati Gupta, giving a grant. And this shows that land grants were also given by women. And Chandragupta II Vikramaditya, same person. He's taken the title. This is the title he takes. And the Mandsaur inscription, Yashovarman, tells us how the Guptas will be later defeated. These are the texts. You just have to remember their location. This is good for art and culture because recently Nitin Singhania added a chapter with regards to inscriptions. These are the inscriptions which you generally need to know. Allahabad, Iran, Nalanda, Gaya, thereafter Junagadh, Pune, Mandsaur, and Mehroli. Now, these are the texts which talk about, or inscriptions which talk about Guptas. But the question is, who are the Guptas? How did they rise? And what is the nature of polity? What is the nature of polity? The ones what I've discussed with you right now, is the factual part where you need to know the texts. Standard thing, one question is coming from time to time, and it is coming from this list only, so you don't have to go anywhere. If we are clear about that, I would like to rather discuss the reason why Guptas further accelerated land grants. Who are they, where they came from, and what is the nature of polity? Can we do that? Yes? Okay. Now, the first question is, where do the Guptas actually come from? Now, we believe that Guptas were the feudatories or local powers of the Kushanas, and they were able to usurp power once Kushanas became weak. And wherein the Guptas capture power, which is Chandragupta I. The first thing, usurp means to take power away. Standard vocabulary, you should know these things. Now, we understand feudatory, local power, Kushanas. Do we understand these words? Do we understand these words? Do I need to explain this? That Guptas were given land grants by the Kushanas, and the Kushanas, in that sense, created the Guptas itself. Guptas became powerful, captured power once the Kushanas became weak. This is what it means. Now, we know that the Kushanas and the Satavahanas kept north and south stable, but the Guptas emerge and capture this whole sector and take North India. While on the other hand, the Satavahanas also give birth to a smaller polity which are called the Vakatakas. Vakatakas we'll discuss tomorrow. But the Guptas emerge from this sector of the Patliputra sector and capture power and become very strong in this sector generally. At the height of their power, they were even able to go till the Kaveri Patnam sector and had even control over Gujarat. And when we talk about the rulers themselves, the first one is Sri Gupta, but Sri Gupta is just the one who comes up. It is Chandragupta one who is the first important ruler. Then you have Samudragupta, the second most important. Then Chandragupta to Vikramaditya. Till this point, everything is fine. From this point forward, Roman trade fully declines and the real power of the Gupta starts to fade away. Now, I told you that Guptas are in a way a decentralized power, and that can be understood by understanding the way power was distributed amongst these rulers generally. That is what we have to understand, how the Guptas are. Now, Guptas rose as feudatories of the Kushanas is clear to everyone, because I want to now discuss a very important concept wherein the Guptas will basically be the reason for further political fragmentation. Yes, we understand their origin, and I've told you the major rulers also in this, Samudragupta being the most important. And they are very kind to UPSC aspirants, only have used the same name in that sense, No change of heart. Yes, I will talk about Samudragupta also, don't worry about that. Now, if I ask you, what would be the Varna of the Guptas today, what will you tell me? you would tell me that Guptas mostly are Vaishyas. Vaishyas means they are a commercial community. They come from the commercial community. Now, this is where the catch is. Guptas are known to be the ones who accelerated land grants and created the power of the Brahmins too much. And the reason for that is we believe that the Gupta rulers at time of origin were Vaishyas only. Were Vaishyas. Chandragupta Maurya and Chandragupta different? Yes. Predicted this question 15 minutes back. Yes. Gupta rulers at the time of origin were Vaishyas. And what we see is that though they were able to become the power, they were powerful and ruled the northern sector. Would you get the same type of respect as a Kshatriya or a Vaishya? You won't. So as much as Gupta rulers may be very powerful, they remain Vaishyas. Now, this is where the Guptas basically went out of their way. It is believed that they generously offered land grants to the Brahmins to appease and change their status. Basically, who gives you the status? Brahmin. So the Brahmins now started to, Brahmins in rituals change the status from Vaishya to Kshatriya. And basically, Gupta rulers were very, very close to Brahmins. And they are also basically Hindu rulers or following Vedic Brahmanism. So Brahmins got a lot of power, and land during this period. Basically, Brahmins who are known for knowledge became a landed community because of this only. Because whenever the Guptas used to do big rituals and they used to do very elaborate rituals, the Brahmins used to say, no, there is a confusion. These are not the same Guptas we think of Guptas. They are Kshatriyas. Now, from one hand, they call them Kshatriyas. The other hand, they take land grants. So basically, the Gupta rulers accelerated the process of land grants because they wanted to change their status. This is a well documented truth wherein the more they give land grants, what are they doing? The more they give land grants in order to change their status, keep it like that. What are they doing? They are sowing seeds of political fragmentation. Political fragmentation. It's not they convert from Vaishya to Kshatriya. Brahmins control knowledge and they can change the status in rituals. And therefore, the fact is Guptas in their basic understanding of changing the status actually kept the Brahmins very happy. Brahmins being happy will do two things. One, land grants. And second, I will discuss with you once I'm done with the political history, which is called Puranic Hinduism will rise, which I will discuss with you. The fact remains is that Sri Gupta was a Vaishya. They are upgraded to a Kshatriya through process, through proper process of Brahmanical appeasement. Does this make sense? That why would the Guptas now become actually decentralized by the time we go to Kumar Gupta, Skand Gupta period? So this is a given fact that Guptas were sowing seeds of political fragmentation in their desperation to change the status itself. Now let's do the bland part, which is basically discussing the basics of their political history. Sri Gupta is the ruler who takes the title Maharaja, and Itzing, the Chinese traveler, came to Sri Gupta's rule itself, and Sri Gupta built Buddhist viharas, and this means that he was again trying to appease the traders. So you can see the most powerful Brahmins, still the ruler has to appease traders. Then comes Chandragupta I, and he's the first major ruler who expands into the different areas. The questions which come from this area are generally conceptual. We have not seen any question from Guptas directly. We have not seen anything. This is all, as I told you, an obligation, and that is why I'm just doing the basic thing about them. If there's a factual question, who is the one who married a Lichvi princess in Nepal to strengthen his position in north? It is Chandragupta I. So I'm telling you the major facts. These, if you will ever go to R.S. Sharma, if you ever picked up any random book, Poonam Dal Dayal also will give you so much detail about them that you will close the book and leave it. The rule is do not get caught up in unnecessary details. The more unnecessary details you will learn, the more you will mess up ancient India. Yeah, there is no end to it. I am actually giving you GS level UPSC understanding. If this was an optional class, we would be 1 to 2 steps further. If this was academic class, we would be again 3 steps further. So if you think that I am actually omitting a lot of things, you are right. And that is the story. That is how we will move forward. If you want to hear the story of Samudragupta, how he went from this place to this place, this place to this place, this is not the class. I'm not here to tell you the stories of Chandrakala and the stories of Samudragupta. We have to know what we need to know about the UPSC examination. No unnecessary fact. If you are really interested in learning about the Guptas and how they this that, sure. What is Chandragupta I and Chandragupta II? Means that they are two different kings kept the same name. Chandragupta I, Chandragupta II. Okay. So please understand this point. There is a lot of political heavy things which you need to know, which is there in the examination, which is there in the books, but you don't need to get caught up there. I hope that you understand it, because you would have for sure tried to learn these things yourself through the book, and I know your reaction to it, which is basically closing the book. Because see, there's a line. There's a line. The line is there's no end to it. And this is not just true for history. Polity, economics, geography, and history are 4 fundamental subjects. There is no end to what concepts are and what things are. In geography, if you want to learn something, you can go to the level of optional, even geology itself. In history, I can talk about Chandragupta I in 5 minutes also. I can have a one whole class about Chandragupta I. But we need to know where the line is drawn, where the UPSC syllabus and where UPSC is generally drawing the line. If they do cross the line, it's a trick question. Leave it. If it's before this line, okay. Because if it came to UPSC showing you your real status, औकात दिखाने पे आ गए, so they can actually give you questions which will not make sense in the question form itself. So a lot of students, what they do is they try to become constitutional lawyers. They try to become the concept of economists. They try to basically see how the cyclone works. They will go and see how a cyclone works. No one cares. Simple point is, if you will complicate it, it will become even more complicated. I'm saying this for the people who are like, either have the book open in front of them right now, or they're thinking, sir is leaving a lot of things. And yes, that is by design. I am leaving a lot of things because I really don't care about this portion. I really don't. UPSC hasn't asked a question out of political history of Gupta till now in the past 14 years. Are we clear about this? Because trust is something which needs to be built up, and that is lacking with some of you. Can we move forward while I tell you basic points? If you're really interested, I'll be happy to share you books. I've taught these for six months in proper BA honors syllabus. Okay. Now, Chandragupta I realized that closing North India was important and the threat could come from Nepal. So he rather married the Lichvi princes. Lichvis were tribes in the Nepal sector. He married and had a matrimonial alliance. He is the one who brought us the fourth calendar of the Indian subcontinent, the Gupta era, started by Chandragupta in 319-320. And most of the Gupta inscriptions and texts refer to Gupta era itself. So now we have reference to four calendars. Gregorian, which we follow. Thereafter Saka, Vikram, Gupta. This is 57 BC. This is 78 C. This is 319, 320 C. Can anybody tell me what is the year under Gupta today? You will subtract 319. Oh, acha, I have written other way around. Sorry. I thought it was written. This should have been here. This should have been here. This is 78 C, 57 BC. What is it in Gupta era today? It is 1704. So now you see how there's a difference of time. Time is a perception. You get it? First thing what I taught you. First thing which I taught you was this. That it's a man-made concept. Wherein, this is also, this is then also. That we have, as per the calendar, 4 timelines you can follow. So some inscriptions are in Gupta era, some inscriptions in Vikram, some in Saka, and what we follow is Gregorian. So just remember this point, that time is totally a man-made concept. And every ruler had their own era concept itself. Right? Okay. Now, I written the right way around. You have made me 2080. Okay. Now Samudragupta is the most celebrated, considered to be the opposite of Ashoka. But if you know Ashoka now, in that sense, Samudragupta was a little bit problematic, because Ashoka expanded and then talked about changing his heart. He kept on expanding and there was no consolidated strategy. So people say that Samudragupta was brave, Ashoka wasn't. That is not true. Ashoka was smart. Ashoka knew where not to stop and where to stop. And Samudragupta therefore is known for all the conquests he did. And Harisena, his court poet, talks about his very big rule and very big expansion. But even when I read the Prayag Prasasti, this is the Prayag Prasasti, or what is called as the translation of it. Now you pay attention to something. You pay attention to something. What have we established, or what are we trying to establish? Gupta is centralized, decentralized. What are we trying to establish? Centralized, decentralized. Decentralized. Now in decentralized, we always have the concept of core and periphery. Core area, periphery. Now, when we talk about core and periphery, the way you talk about them is that this area is always controlled directly, while on the other hand, periphery is always indirect. Now, if you will read the Prayag Prasasti, you will realize that Harisena is also talking in the same terms. Harisena is also talking in the same terms because there is a differentiation he makes. You see, he says that the first group of princes which Samudragupta conquered, he incorporated them into the Gupta Empire. Do not learn this, generally telling you. Second group includes the rulers of eastern Himalayan states, which is Nepal, Assam, Bengal. They also were areas in Punjab which were taken. This is also incorporated. Then he talks about the Vindhya region and the Atavik Rajas, which are basically the rulers in the forest or Vindhya Satpura. They are also brought under his control. Now you see his language is changing. And now the fourth and fifth group, you will realize, is totally different. 12 rulers of the Deccan, South India, from Kanchi in Tamil Nadu to the Pallavas, were compelled to recognize his suzerainty. Suzerainty means decentralized overlordship. Meaning that over certain areas which are in you are they are you are the sovereign. You are the sovereign. But over these outside areas, you have suzerainty. Suzerainty means that you just have symbolic power over them. The paramount power is Samudragupta, but they are not directly controlled. A suzerain power always has what is called as internal freedom is still there with the rulers. Externally, they may be different. Internally, they are free, and externally, they accept the suzerainty of Samudragupta. So you can see that even in the Prayag Prasasti, Harisena is indicating to us that the empire was decentralized. I hope you're understanding the concept here. If you understand British paramountcy, if you understand the concept of princely states, exactly same concept. Princely states were under the paramountcy of the British or suzerainty of the British. Exactly same way the Samudragupta concept was having symbolic power over these areas. So they are subsidiaries of the empire. When you directly control, in nowhere in Ashoka's inscriptions was the word suzerainty control used. It was always about conquering. Here it is not about conquering, but it is about suzerain control or controlling these local power intermediaries. Is this making sense to you? I am doing this just to prove it to you that there's a certain process of decentralization which has been pushed in by the Guptas, and that is a product of their own understanding. Now, now we know that Mahameghavarma group means group. Group. He grouped the areas which were there into 4 ways. Every paragraph had a different group of areas he conquered. We know that Mahameghavarma said that we want to establish a monastery. Remember, this has come in the examination. He said yes and gave a land grant in Gaya. And he is known to have played the veena. And when we'll talk about Gupta coinage in numismatics, in art and culture, we will come back to this. Cultural development there. Thereafter, the second greatest ruler of the Guptas is Chandragupta II Vikramaditya. Chandragupta II Vikramaditya is known for his Navratans. And his Navratans included Kalidas. Again, we'll discuss this in art and culture. Kalidas, even Dhanvantari, who's the very good in medicine. He's also the one who had Shushruta, which is the surgeon. He's also known to have given Aryabhatta, some form of early encouragement. And in that sense, he was very good in giving patronage to important science and technology and important personalities of the Indian subcontinent when it comes to ancient India. He will also basically use marriage alliances and conquest of the western and the eastern coast was completed. He was able to fully destroy the Shakas, and Fahyan will come under his rule. So Fahyan will come under his rule, and he will basically therefore give us a picture of how the Gupta rule used to look like. Navratan means 9 Ratans. Kalidas, Amarsimha, Vishakadatta, Dhanvantari, these are the famous poets, people who are linked to him. Astronomy and all we will discuss separately. Art and culture kept for separately. He is also known for we know that iron pillar itself, first one to issue silver coin. What does this indicate to us? He's the first Gupta ruler to issue silver coins. What does it indicate to us? Now you have the critical skills to understand this. What does this indicate to us if he is actually having to give up silver coins? Very good. This means that the economy is now showing little bit sign of decline. So giving up on gold coins and issuing silver in that sense is quite significant that way. Now, Kumar Gupta is known for one thing and one thing only, which is founded the Nalanda University. He is known to have funded and established the most important Buddhist institution of learning, and that ways he was very open-minded in that regard, and he will also start to now see northwestern sector invasions. And at this point of time, there will be what are called the Huns, who are a Central Asian tribe, who will start to become a problem for India in the northwest. Northwest for a very long time had been very stable. Now things will start to go down in that sense. We'll discuss the poets. We'll discuss Kalidasa's work here. Don't worry. Remember, Nalanda University, Kumar Gupta. Skand Gupta is again known to have fought with the Huns in the northwest. He defeated the Huns and erected a pillar in Betari. And he is the last one to reconstruct the Sudarshan Lake, which we already know. Thereafter, Narsim Gupta Baladitya and Vishnu Gupta are the problematic ones. By this point of time, he will defeat Mihirkula, a Huna ruler, pardon him. But you see, he will embrace Buddhism. So now things have started to go down very quickly and very in a very problematic way itself. And Vishnu Gupta will basically be the one who will see the Guptas get disintegrated into their feudatories, which I will discuss tomorrow when I discuss that. Huns are Central Asian invaders who will now become a problem in the northwestern sector. Northwestern sector was very, very stable because of the Seleucid Empire, then because of the Shakas and the Indo-Greeks. Now it has become problematic with Central Asian tribes moving southwards into the Indian subcontinent. Now, when we talk about Navratans, we obviously have to talk about Kalidas and certain texts which were produced in this period of time. Now, for you, something is quite significant because UPSC has already asked some of them, so you only have to learn some of them. Abhigyan Shakuntalam, every smallest to smallest, and this is not the way same Vishnu Gupta Chanakya. No. There's no connection between these two. Who were the Huns? Huns are Central Asian tribes like the Kushanas coming through the northern sector. Yes, Dhanvantri, the book of medicine, yes. Yes, Ravi, in a way, yes. Chandragupta 2 is the grandson of Chandragupta 1. Vivek, I leave it to you, you decide. I really don't care. You find that and tell me what is the relationship between Chandragupta 1 and Chandragupta 2 and create a confusing state of mind and confuse us also. Okay. Abhigyan Shakuntalam is known to everybody. It's a very standard thing, marriage of Shakuntala with Dushyanta. This came in the examination previously, which is the story of the marriage of Agni Mitra, a Shunga ruler, with Malvika. So Malvika Agni Mitra. So you don't have to learn this also. The Vikram o Vishyam is the marriage of Vikramaditya and Urvashi. The problem is they can never ask you these two because Vikramaditya is given here only, Vikram. Then you have Kumar Sambhavam, which is again Shiva and Parvati, birth of Kumaraswamy. Again, Kumara is written. Now, the most interesting is these two. But you can expect in the examination either this or this. These are the only two which have not been asked in the examination till this point. Now, Meghdut. Now, Meghdootam is very interesting because Meghdootam is the story. Firstly, this name has been given to our cloud technology by the government of India also. What is the question? Consider the following, which have been properly matched. Kalidas, and there will be the name of the text in front of you. I'll do the questions, don't worry about that. Poem Meghdut. Now, Meghdut is obviously the name of the larger system. Meghraj is the smaller system under it. Meghdut is the bigger system, what is called the cloud technology of the government of India. Meghraj is the smaller one. Now, Meghdut tells us geographical history because it is a story of a yaksha. Yaksha means a male figure who sends a love message to his wife who lives in the Himalayas. Now, this is very interesting that he knew that from Vindhya Satpura range, he was sending a message towards the Himalayas. This tells us that they know about Vindhya Satpura, they know about Himalayas, and the directional understanding is totally clear. Every geographical mountain range told in this text is exactly real. Exactly real. And the same thing is for Ritu Samagra. Ritu Samagra is seasonal history of India. Now, sir, feeling confused to remember, मैंने बोला नहीं remember करने को. I ask you to remember this? Please understand this point. You are not a computer that I will feed Kalidas, Vikramasobham, Kalidas, Abhigyan Shakuntalam. You will remember it. That is not how you work. What I am telling you is the ones you have to concentrate on. Everybody has to learn this systematically, one each day. And it's not a very big task I'm asking you to do. There are 1 lakh facts and I'm only asking you to learn 100. And that is my job to tell you what 100 matter. So you just have to very simply learn these facts systematically. If you will sit with this and say, I will learn all of this today, nobody can learn that. So I'm confused because I'm not able to remember. Obviously, you can't remember by just listening to it once. So you have to revise. Please understand there are 2 roles I'm playing at the same point of time. One, I'm explaining something to you. Second, I'm identifying something for you. When it comes to identification, then you start to hyperventilate. Sir, samajh nahi aa raha. Sir, it's gone out of too much, too much, too much. When I'm explaining, everybody is quite silent, enjoying, understood. Everybody understood caste very well. But the problem is caste is caste. I can explain that to you. I cannot explain anything to you here. So when I'm asking you to do your job, don't start to hyperventilate. My job here is 20% to tell you what to learn. 80% is your job. Where there is 100% my job, I'll do it. So it cannot be that I say it to you and you remember it forever. So have to learn this systematically. History is like a pizza, divide it into slices and eat it. You will not choke to death. Are we clear about this? Okay. Now, there's a person called Vishnu Sharma, again came in the examination. He's known for Panch Tantra, short stories for children, which has a lot of details about morality. Then, during the Gupta period, we also have Varuchi, who wrote Prakasha, and Amar Simha, who wrote Amar Kosha. These are Sanskrit and Prakrit grammar. Shushruta wrote Shushruta Samhita. Don't worry about this. This will do in culture, which is Dhanvantri, Shushruta, and Aryabhatta. Don't worry about this. Just remember Kalidas, Vikramasomyam, and Kumar Sambhavam, Meghdut Ritu Samagra, Amar Varuchi, Prakrit Kosha. Prakrit Kosha. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. Now, I have to do two things with you. One is this very simple portion of administration, and then I have to discuss social and religious. I'll give you a breather here, and thereafter we do this, but I don't want anybody to cry in the chat box. It is becoming heavy. If I give you this 5 minutes and then you say it, makes no sense. I have to tell you something called rise of Puranic Hinduism. I will tell you that, but I am ready to give you a breather if you promise to have 40 minutes proper, or at least half an hour of proper concentration. Yes? Are we in 200 BC? No, we are in 300 C. Okay. So we come back at 7:57 and then we take the story forward. Perfect. Prashant, you don't want a break. I leave this to you. You learn this in the break, right? Use the time better. Okay. 58. Okay, welcome back. Now, fortunately for us, because the empire is mostly decentralized, in the core areas, we have the following idea. And the following idea is that, like the quote, Namrata, the idea is that the province was called Bhukta, the district was called Vishya under Vishyapati, village was under a Gram or Gramini. Simple, straightforward thing, not very difficult to understand because there are not a lot of centralized areas itself. So, Bhukta, Uparika, this is the officer. Then Vishyas, Vishyapati, and then Grama under Gramini. Simple point. Now, same thing can be read out from this discussion that you have Bhukta, Bhukti under Uparika, sure. You have Vishya under Vishyapati, perfect. And thereafter, we have another level which is not always there but sometimes there, which is Vithi, Pata, Bhumi, Petha. This could be under an Ayukta. So it's not clear where it came in. Could be here and could be here. There are multiple levels, but these are the three basic levels which we've seen in that regard. And Ayukt means a person who has been Ayukted, which is appointed to do the work for them. Now, thereafter, we have very big titles which are taken by the Gupta rulers. Maharaja Adhiraja, Parambhatraka, Parameshwar. Now, see, we think that the more bigger title you take, the more powerful you are. But that is technically not true. If you are Maharaja Dhiraja, means the Raja of Rajas. It means what? It means what? It means that there are Rajas already. You are the Maharaja Dhiraja. So, in a way, in these titles, you are automatically indicating decentralization. If I call myself Parmeshwar, then it means that you are trying to, if in Vedic period there was one Rajan, that Rajan was enough to tell you that person was powerful. Now there are multiple Rajas, so Maharaja Dhiraja. If I call myself the teacher, super teacher, so I'm trying to basically say I am teacher's teacher. So they are all already teachers. Same way, Maharaja Dhiraja is not indicative of power. It is indicative of decentralization. So the more bigger title you take, the lower your power is in that regard. Because if somebody calls you Raja and that is more than enough, then you are the Raja. For example, Guru. I am Mahaguru. I am Parveshwar Mahaguru. You would have seen Guru, you would have seen these Babas take very, very big titles. This, that, Swamiji. So what is the need for that whole front? Because there are multiple Swamis already. So the bigger name you take, the more the bigger title you take, the more you are most probably decentralized, because local Rajas are there, you are Maharaja Dhiraja. Thereafter, we've also found in certain texts, for example, the Kumar Amatya word is used in certain seals we found, which means that it's a high ranking officer. And a word Amatya also comes in. Has this word changed since the Mauryan period? Has this word changed since the Mauryan period? No. So Amatya, Kumar Amatya can be two types of officers. Amatya can have a Kumar Amatya under him or above him. And basically, Kumar Amatya. And simple point is that these two are like Mahamatyas. Yes. See, Mahamatya, Amatya, Kumar Matya. These Amatya is the slower name. Thereafter, these Mahamatya, Kumar Amatya are additional secretary, joint secretary, secretary. Basically, bigger titles are added so that associate, vice, director, senior director, that way. Now, Kumar Amatya could be attached to the king. He could be appointed by the king itself. And sometimes these are hereditary also. The basic point is that when it comes to Gupta administration, it is quite open, which also tells us that there is a lot of decentralization, because the terms are changing from different seal to different seal to different inscription to different inscription. And what we are able to establish is that these are the only positions which were more or less clear with regards to their positional value and their role. So you have one is called Sandhi Vigrahaka. What is treaty called in Hindi? What is treaty called in Hindi? Sandhi. So you don't need to learn this. This is called linguistic learning. You find a word and you automatically don't need to learn it. Then Kumaramate we already know. Mahabaladhikrita. Bal means power. Power comes from military force. So again, don't need to learn this. Then you have Bhatva, Bhat Ashwapati. Ashwa means what? Horse. Cavalry. Pilupati. If you've ever done Hindi, you would know elephant, elephant prayavachi, which is a word which is there for hathi, is Pilu. So Pilu, elephant. Then Danda, police. Shalk, custom. Hiranika, tax. Mahadandanayaka. Now you tell me, do you actually need to learn any of this? If this comes in the examination, can you actually just identify them automatically by looking at the word itself? Sometimes using logic is more than enough. Much easier than the words of the Mauryas, as I told you. That is the only heavy topic that way. And here you just have to, if you are not able to, associate it like this. Bala, Kumara Matya, Amatya, we already know is an executive officer. So that we know. Sandhi, foreign. Bala, for, military. Horse, or Ashwa means cavalry, Pilu means elephant, Dand means police, Dand Nayak means justice, Shulk we take till today. So Hiranika is a word which is used for coins. So it is tax collector. So sometimes using logic is good enough and the only thing which you need. Now comes the $1,000,000 question. The third process of Varna Samskara. Can I discuss this? Again, an area which is quite interesting, but basically no relevance to your examination because they will not ask you anything like this. Now, the third process of Varna Samskara. First one was what? Assimilation and integration. And thereafter, we had seen intermixing, which is called exogamous marriages. These two gave us Varna subcategorization. Now, this was in the post-Mauryan period. I hope nobody forgets what we did or what we had done previously. I hope this is fine, wherein I showed you that through that the pictures are how the whole concept works. Now, the third process which was initiated in this period is called tribal integration. A lot of tribes in the frontier area of the Indian subcontinent, they were integrated into the Varna system, and that in turn led to more proliferation. So what we see is that tax-free land grants are given like anything. We know that they were Vaishyas, came to be known as Kshatriyas. Brahmins accumulated a lot of wealth at this point of time due to numerous land grants. Class proliferation had already happened because of assimilation, and new type of castes were coming. Foreigners had mostly been integrated into the Kshatriya caste. But the fact of the matter is that the third reason was the way tribal people were assimilated into Brahmanical society. The position of Shudras improved a little bit because with agriculture expanding, there was a need for agri labor. So finally, the Shudras were allowed to become agricultural labor rather than maintainers of the society itself. But for women, other than just listening to the two epics and the Purans, their status remains more or less the same. No economic opportunity is given to women. Women remain subordinated to men, and this will remain for centuries to come. Further, untouchability is expanding as it is. So when we talk about society, we have assimilation plus intermixing plus integration of tribal population equals to caste formation. Assimilation and intermixing of foreigners, and this is why we have Varna Samskara and numerous castes in India. Numerous castes in India. Yes, are we clear? Are we clear? Tribal integration means that tribal population which are on the frontier, northeastern sector, Chota Nagpur Plateau, these areas, they were integrated further. Are we clear about this? Because then the last thing I do is a very interesting thing, which is concept of Puranic Hinduism. This is the concept of Puranic Hinduism. Tribe, these were indigenous tribes, still today exist. Till today exist. Yes? Come on. Now, don't give me the Gajini effect that you don't know the first two. You already know the first two. Tribal integration is something which happens in the Gupta period. More the land grants are given, more the expansion, it happens. Okay. We also know that Shudras start to become agri labor, but women remain subordinated. Now, economy wise, various lands are mentioned in different areas. For example, these are words which have not changed since the Mauryan period. Kila, Apa, Harta still remain. And we see that trade between Sri Gupta and Kumar Gupta, was stable, but after Kumar Gupta there is urban contraction. There's urban contraction wherein there is decline. When there's decline. And we know that because, see, there is a lot of evidence and references to trade, furniture, baskets, precious, non-precious, precious metals, multiple things. But the fact of the matter is that after the late Gupta period, there's a lot of urban contraction, and land grants will now not be just given to Brahmins; it will be given to officers also. The the taxes increase and the names increase. Bhaga, does this word have still connotation? Land revenue, land tax. This has not changed since the later Vedic period. This is a very important point. Bhaga bhag remains land revenue, land tax, which is 1/6. And we have found another set of terms. Bhoga kara. Bhoga is basically a word which was used to be Bali, which is periodic supply of certain types of fruits, flowers, firewood to the king. So this is mandatory offering to the king. Kara is a generic term for taxes, but now Bali, the concept changes. Bali as a tax, this was previously Bali. Bali now is basically a religious cess. So if you are a Buddhist, you have to pay the Bali tax itself. This is very interesting that if you are paying Bhaga, and if you are a Buddhist, you have to pay Bali over it. It's a interesting cess which the Guptas used to take over and above the Bhaga itself. So the term Bali has totally changed now. Further, we have Uparikara, which is Uparikara is a tax on tenants. See, tell me one thing. If a state starts to tax more, what does it indicate? What does it indicate? Again, indicates that revenue is declining. So they start to now even tax the tenants. Tenants means agri labor. And we have found shulk and tolls, which are basically toll on land goods movement. And a very interesting body came up. In a way, yes, Mujtaba, same thing. A very interesting thing comes in, which is Shreni. These are groups of artisans or merchants. Basically, the English word for this is guild. Guild. Guilds are called shrenis. Basically, unions. These are unions. Merchant or craftsman or craft union. Basically, all the blacksmith come together, goldsmith come together, and they negotiate with the king. We have Takshila, Achitra, Mathura, Rajghat. We have Kaushambi, Patliputra as very big, very big. Commerce chamber is not the right way. It's basically trade unions in a way. Basically, these are the cities which have emerged and have become very important. You can see from the northeast to the east itself. And all of this is fine. After Kumar Gupta, things will become problematic. India was and remained the center of the Indian Ocean when it came to trade. But the last discussion I want to have with you is something very significant, which is the concept of Puranic Hinduism. Can I do that? I have since we met at 5, Kushana, Satvahana, polity, the concept of Kushana, what we call as a Satvahana tendency, land grant, Gupta, decentralization, main rulers, basic economy, basic society, and administration. Anybody has any issue in this? Because this is the factual portion. Now, This is the most interesting discussion we have and has nothing to do with what we do tomorrow. Tomorrow we start early medieval, and that is quite significant that way. Are we all clear about these things? Very factual but conceptual. Some conceptual, caste formation, some factual. Yes? Are we ready for the concept of Puranic Hinduism? Yes? Now, between 6th century BCE and the Gupta period, which religion would I say is the most popular? The most popular. Most popular. Very good. Buddhism. And since the Vedic period, Vedic Brahmanism was losing out to Buddhism as state religion. Now, finally, in the Gupta period, Brahmins get control back. They have power, they have land, and the state also, state religion is also Hindu, is Vedic Brahmanism. So now the Brahmins come together and figure out why is that we lost to Buddhism. And the reason for that was that Buddhism was quite open. It allowed for foreigners to also get assimilated. And it was not very rigid. And during the Gupta period, the Brahmanical community, they took a call that we need to change our emphasis. Emphasis till this point of time were the Vedas. And Vedas are about rituals, are about sacrifices. And whilst all of this is good, we need a strategy in which we can assimilate more. Assimilation and openness needs to be there. And in that context, the Brahmins choose to change the main text from Vedas to a Puran which is called the Bhagavad Puran. Now, Bhagavad Puran leads to what is called as Bhagavatism, which you know today as Hinduism. And Bhagavad Puran, or what we call as Bhagavatism, or what we call as Puranic Hinduism, basically was a watered out version of Vedic Brahmanism. Vedic Brahmanism evolved into Puranic Hinduism, which we know today, and the emphasis here was the Dashavatar. Lord Vishnu and Lord Shiva and their avatars become important. And what happens is that now Vedic Brahmanism starts to assimilate and become Puranic Hinduism. So what happens is that they say, okay, we will use Lord Vishnu as a generic figure to assimilate all forms of local gods. So they went to Lord Tirupati, saw Lord Venkateshwara. They said, no, Lord Venkateshwara, Vishnu. Then they went to Padmanabhaswamy, and then they said, no, Lord Vishnu. Then they went to Jagannath temple. They said, no, Lord Vishnu. What they started to do was they started to give the Lord Vishnu, the Dashavatar concept, a more open concept itself. Then all female goddesses were brought into Shakti. that you have a goddess called Kali, Shakti, then another goddess which is localized to a certain area, Shakti, and therefore Shakti Durga became that identity where everything was brought in together. This is where Vedic Brahmanism understood how to undercut Buddhism. Buddhism was open, assimilated. Vedic Brahmanism opened and took all regional gods into one, and wherever you go to any part of India, they will tell you this is Lord Veerbhadra, a avatar of Lord Vishnu. So the avatar concept is either Lord Shiva or Lord Vishnu, and all gods now come together under one fold. But the master stroke which the Vedic Brahmanism, man, the master stroke, literal master stroke, where Buddhism did not know what to do now, how Buddhism was destroyed by Vedic Brahmanism. The master stroke was, now they went to the Buddhists and they said, who do you worship? They say, Lord Buddha. Buddha? He is also Vishnu. The ninth avatar of Lord Vishnu is Buddha. Now, kar lo jo karna hai. Basically, the base of Buddhism has been destroyed. Now, the Buddhism can say anything. Brahmin said, no, this is Lord Vishnu. You didn't know you were basically worshipping Lord Vishnu. हमें भी नहीं पता था. We read Bhagavad Puran and it said that Buddha is God. And you say Buddha is God. Our God is also God. And Lord Vishnu is God. So Lord Vishnu God. Buddha is God. Mahayanic Buddhism. This is where, after this point, Buddhism will become a footnote. That is why Buddhism will start to go downwards, southwards, which will in turn produce what we call as the Bhakti movement, which will again kill Buddhism and Jainism properly in South India. The simple point is, I have taught you since the beginning that Siddhartha, Buddha, Badhamma Chakra Parivartana, 3 new religions were formed. But by this, they undercut the simple concept of Buddhism itself. Buddhism is a separate religion. But Vedic Brahmanism was not able to assimilate it. Puranic Hinduism destroyed the base of Buddhism itself. Now, why would anybody go to Buddhism? Buddha is Lord Vishnu. I'll go to Lord Vishnu. And that is why temple building in India became very common in the Gupta post-Gupta period. Because now temples were being built in every part of India with certain connections to the Bhagavad Puran, and temple building before this was mostly rudimentary, becomes very, very forward. This is where Hinduism comes into existence. That is why I always make a difference between Vedic Brahmanism and Hinduism. Hinduism is a very diluted form of Vedic Brahmanism. Between the period of Vedic period to Gupta, they remained as Vedic Brahmanism. Vedas, sacrifice rituals. Thereafter, they realized that these sacrifice rituals will actually not work, and therefore they opened up the religion and assimilated everybody. And this is where the master stroke came. And today what you see as Hinduism is Puranic Hinduism plus Bhakti. That is the last topic of medieval. And then I will tell you what Hinduism is today in that regard. Yes? See, you need to read. Again, Sulakshana, you have become emotional. I have a very strong feeling that I know more than you in this when it comes to mythological texts also. Don't worry about that. But I am talking in historical terms and academic discussion. If you take it to heart, it's not about destroying Buddhism. It's about destroying the audience of Buddhism. And it is not a coincidence that with the rise of Puranic Hinduism, Buddhism had to change itself so much that now Vajrayanic Buddhism comes through. So I will choose to ignore that comment, because You don't know me, so don't judge me. So don't do that. And the simple point is, this is the historical process. You like it, you don't like it, this is the standard process. So I have no knowledge of something, leave it, right? So let's not go there, because then I will start to ask knowledge questions, then it will become a problem. So if it's a competition, then it will become really a problem. So I'll ignore that comment generally. So it's, if you cannot have, if we can't have an academic discussion and we will bring in certain types of emotions here, then there's no point discussing all of this. Then caste varna is also random stuff. Then we can justify sati also. Then we should just justify sati straightforward. So no, see again, Sulakshana. In Upinder Singh, in an academic perspective, Buddhism was assimilated into what we call as Puranic Hinduism, literally destroying the base of Buddhism, in turn leading it to go to South India, in turn producing the first wave of Bhakti movement in South India. That's a separate issue altogether. You don't know the whole process, no issues. What you think is religion today is actually quite different than what it was at that point of time. No issues. Ignorance is bliss. Perfect. No issues at all. So it's not about judge. I'm not even using the word judging, whatever it may be. Jo bhi hai. The simple point is, I ignore your comment, generally thinking that it is a certain type of reaction to a word. Sure, whatever it may be. The word is destruction. The word is assimilation. The word is audience gone. So Buddhism was never able to revive itself thereafter. And in constitutional terms also today, the word Hindu is encompassing Jain and Buddhist also, which is technically, and Sikh also. But these three are separate religions in that regard. So let's ignore that. We didn't have that conversation. Okay. Vaishnavism, Shaktism. Yes. Vaishnavism, Shaivism, the Dashavatar concept for both were there. 10 avatars of Vishnu, 10 avatars of Shiva. Though they were developing separately also, they became the forefront. The emphasis in books changed. That is the basic point. The book became from Veda to Puranas. So with this, we finish this module also for module number 6. Whatever discussion I have with regards to Bhagavad Puran and all of these, all pure academic discussion out of syllabus. You really don't need to know this, but I'm telling you this because you are entitled to know it. So tomorrow we start early medieval, and early medieval we will start with post Gupta and early medieval. Tomorrow is going to be the last factual class. I will give you master timelines also. That is going to be important. So tomorrow we will do master timelines, Pallavas, Chalukyas, and Harshvardhan. Then we will also talk about Prala, Pratihara, Rashtrakuta. Tomorrow we finish the concept of what we call as early medievalish factual. From Monday, then we start proper medieval, Turkish invasion, Delhi Sultanate. That is a very different portion altogether. The emphasis totally changes. Okay. This area is like peasant and socialist reform movement. Facts, concept, basic facts. If you know, you can answer any question. Okay. Vedanta and Bhagavad is totally different. Vedanta, that 6 schools of philosophy never will teach you. I'll tell you. Shankaradeva, Ramanuja, all of these come in 6 schools of philosophy. Bhakti movement. Bhakti is the last thing which changes Hinduism forever. And today what we follow is not this also, Puranic Hinduism. We follow Bhakti-driven, what we call as Puranic Hinduism. We'll talk about that. Much complex than what you have. So Lakshana, I would suggest to you that if you have access to Upinder Singh, I'll be really happy to tell you the page numbers. Read it once. Will open up your mind a little bit more to certain words or certain things which are happening. For anybody who really wants to read this section, very beautiful section given in the what we call as Upinder Singh book. Puranic Hinduism is a chapter itself. Very beautifully written. Right? Okay. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.